Hello, YouTube. Welcome to the show. Stay with us.
Go backwards.
Only on YouTube. Stranger Things. Now you can share. Hi, is everybody out there? Yeah.
How's everybody doing on Facebook?
Beautiful day. Hang with us as in about a minute we're going live on the radio. Tools of Life. Exciting way to start the weekend.
That's right.
So I'll cue you in again. I'll play this. You won't hear it. I'll hear it. You might hear it in there. And then I'll just point at you. That's what producers do, I think.
That's what we do. The guy in the red shirt.
The guy in the red shirt. Pay no attention. All right, quiet on the set.
Lately I've been reeling, watching the nightly news. Don't seem to find the rhythm, just wanna sing the blues. Feels like a song that never stops. Feels like it's never gonna. Gotta get that fire back in my bones before my heart turns into stone. So when somebody please pass.
Good morning and welcome to Tools of Life with me, Julie Ford of Jewels of Life, the show that brings parents and teens enough uplifting tools on Friday to sift right on into Monday. Because those poor Mondays, I tell you what, they just receive such a bad rap. So there's no need to dread a new week. Be kind to those Mondays, all 52 of them. Now, many of you are new to me and new to the Tools of Life show. So I'll let you know that at Jewels of Life, we have been supporting parents and teens as they navigate not only the challenges, but also the rich discoveries of this stage. We dread too many stages of life and of child rearing, so we can enjoy every stage of parenting. And that's what we're here to talk about again on Tools of Life. Joy. We are joyful. And when we are joyful, the kids that we are raising up have a great example to follow. Now, mornings can be tough. So one of the habits I've adopted since I have adopted choosing joy is asking every morning, how can I serve? And then listening. So I find it helpful to journal this afterwards so I can be reminded of what actions to take. I find that when I write stuff down, it works a whole lot better. I don't know about you, Ken, but definitely, sometimes the mind is a sieve. So I often have this desire to have, and I've talked about it a lot, shower crayons, because the greatest ideas come in the shower. And then by the time I'm out of the shower, then they've all washed down the drain out of my brain. And, before I've even dried my face, and hands enough to write something down, there it's gone. I even wrote a thesis on the whole idea of writing things down, not with shower crayons, but with writing things down. So that whole idea of how can I serve seems like a pretty lofty question for some. Like it's too big. How can I serve? Who am I to serve? That often comes up too. And how can I possibly give when I'm feeling like, oh, for heaven's sakes, I'm pretty low right now, or I'm overloaded. I might not be low. I might be in a good place, but I've got no seconds left. So how could I possibly serve more or in a different way? So the idea of when you're feeling helpless, help someone is a really good one for bringing you out of that place of having a lack of joy.
Can I stop you there?
Absolutely.
So a lot of stay-at-home parents serve all the time.
Oh, yeah.
They're constantly serving the family, cleaning, doing things, running errands, all that stuff.
Right.
And sometimes during that, can't the person feel empty and like, oh,
absolutely,
I'm doing all this serving, but then you're like,
the
last thing I would wanna
thankless
do.
jobs, right?
Right.
Right. How can I serve? Well, and I love that you bring that up, because a lot of times the stay-at-home mom, the stay-at-home parent, they feel like they're empty. They're running on empty. And yet serving maybe in a slightly different way,
Mhm.
or doing the same but with a slightly different perspective, lifts them out of that space.
Yeah.
Like, instead of I have to, there might be some I get to do these things. Imagine your life without having the privilege of being able to be present for those moments. And what would that be like? And switching that to how can I do the same things but of service?
Mhm. Awesome.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you brought that up. Really glad you brought that up. So I definitely know that when, like dreading Mondays, dreading mornings happens a lot. So why morning? Why would I choose to have this habit in the morning and saying, how can I serve, during this part of the day? Often, a lot of experts say that it is the best, richest part of the day, filled with inspiration. And of course, you can serve all day.
Mhm.
And of course, you can ask yourself the question, how can I serve all day? And I am one that grew up loving mornings, and I've loved them less and less as I need more and more sleep. And I get it. I love my bed. It's a great place to just stay hunkered down. But definitely, when I was back in that swamp last year, one of the things that saved me really was that phrase, when you're feeling helpless, help someone. So the question, but how, would come up, every time that phrase would come to mind. It was, but how? I'm overloaded, or I'm underwhelmed with the things that are going on in my life. How can I serve is a really huge question. And so, breaking that down a little bit, I learned a little prayer, if you will, that broke down that whole big how can I serve into more chewable bits that I could then make into a morning routine. And the beauty of it is that this morning routine is just so simple. You stay in bed for 2 extra minutes. Now, who isn't, I've got your attention now. Stay in bed for 2 extra minutes and I know you're liking this. And ask, what would you have me do? Where would you have me go? What would you have me say, and to whom? And I'm going to talk about those 3 things. And then the key is to just listen, because it doesn't take 2 minutes to ask those questions. To just take some deep breaths, fill your belly with air, let it all out, and just listen. Try to calm the chatter that already started just as you opened your eyes, and just listen. And if it doesn't become clear in those 2 minutes, then get in that shower. And maybe now is time for that cute little station break where we talk about the partner who's going to buy everybody shower crayons.
That's right.
Wouldn't that be lovely? There'd be drawings all over everybody's walls. And then let the water wash away the static of the head, because we are so full of fuzz, so much fuzzy heads. And then listen to your heart, because there's so much information in there, so much information, so much clearer information than in your head. We're so fuzzy that we forget how smart our hearts are. And parents especially, we get scattered and we get reactive, like fire, put it out, fire, put it out, fire, put it out. And instead of taking a step back, I wrote a whole workbook on it, for heaven's sakes, about how scattered parents get, and it's called Creating Time and Energy, and how to get back to that foundation of what matters most. So take that breath, take those 2 minutes, and say, what's the tone of this day that I want to have?
So, and even with the teenagers that you work with, do the same thing, but how do you overcome the noise in the brain? Because especially with teens, younger people, millennials,
right?
I take that deep breath, and now, and even me, everything about the day starts rolling through.
Right.
So how do you part that curtain to then focus on on those
I
three
tell you what, it
questions?
takes practice. Just the idea of sitting silently, your eyes open in the morning, and even if it's dark, eyes open in the morning. And for me, the chatter does start right away,
Mhm.
and it's a matter of saying, "Okay, I hear you, but I choose differently. I hear you, I choose differently."
Literally just
Yes,
say that.
yes, and this is going to be another one. Course correction and choosing all day is one of our habits that we'll talk about upcoming. But definitely it's noticing it. Okay, thank you. I hear you, but not now. Just as if
Mhm.
there was a line at your, at your desk of people going, "Hey, I've got something that's disturbing to talk to you about." Okay, yes, just a minute. I hear you. Not now. I'm listening to how I'm
Awesome.
going to serve
Mhm.
today. So, but it does take practice, a tremendous amount.
That's awesome.
But just simple, turn it around, turn it around. And like I said, get in the shower, let those thoughts wash down the drain. And the fuzzy thoughts, like you have to, you must, you need to, all of that, and just listen to your heart. So that whole, how am I supposed to serve? It may seem like, oh well, who am I to have something really grand? It has to be really big, and it can be really big, but it sure doesn't have to be.
Where's your smart device during
My
all
smart
this?
device not in the shower.
Well, so you're staying in bed. A lot of people use
Yeah.
this as their alarm clock now.
Right.
And so that's there. And I may hear a buzz. I may hear, what
Right.
are you doing with this as you're trying to
This is a
really
challenge.
focus on
We
that?
have had this conversation with our kids a lot. Like,
Mhm.
because you use it as an alarm clock. A lot of people say no. Get your old fashioned alarm clock, even if it has to be a wind up one that goes ding 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 with the two bells. And they're like, "No, I'm not doing that." Okay, well, how can we compromise?
Yeah.
How can we make this device work for us instead of against
Correct.
us?
Mhm.
So I've done some recording of different, meditations and mantras, if you will, that you can use as a ringtone. So even what would you have me do? Where would you have me go?
Yeah.
I mean, you can start your day with that as your alarm.
Awesome.
And it can bring it back. Some calmer music that's just like, no, you're doing okay today. You don't have to listen to all the buzz that's going on. You don't have to listen to that. But a lot of people say, put it in another room, put it to bed somewhere else, and then bring it in as it serves. Make certain things unavailable to yourself, so it's not a temptation. So it's not Facebook first, or it's not my calendar and people yelling at me.
Snapchat, whatever.
Snapchat, whatever's the deal. Yeah, Facebook is for old people.
That's
so
right.
Yep,
We're old people.
we're old
Wait a
people.
minute.
way old. But that is an absolute great point. What happens with that device? So how am I supposed to serve doesn't have to be this gigantic thing. And I think that was a shift for me. It doesn't, your service doesn't have to blanket the world. It simply has to move one person's dial a little bit towards better. Just a little bit towards better. And that takes a lot of the pressure off. But it just that one tiny click might change someone's entire week. It might change their life, actually. That one little click, like, you thought of me. And so let me break this down. It doesn't have to be really big. These are some simple things that have helped me. So that's why I'm sharing. I have sent encouragement or humor via text. So when I'm laying there in my first moments of wakeness, saying, "What would you have me do?" Maybe the word encouragement comes to mind, and then what would you have me say? And sometimes it's just you'll know.
Mhm.
And so when I finally do, open up and I find something that makes me guffaw out loud, I'm like, oh my gosh, my friend Shannon needs to see that, because she's a grief counselor. There's too much grief today. So she needs to see this. This is awesome. And so that will be what goes. That's all. That's just one little, and it might be just that a name comes to mind first. And so I don't know why I'm supposed to, send Kent something, but I'll figure it out today. So I'll pay attention. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh, there it is. That was what was going to lift him.
I'm an extra large if you're
right.
No,
I don't know. An extra large red sweatshirt.
That's
right. Wear that on Friday, right?
That's right.
So it might be encouragement. And when I say someone who's on your heart, sometimes that seems like, well, what are you talking about? And I remember the first time a friend said, you were on my heart. I'm like, I was what? Where was I? What was I doing? I'm like, it sounds painful.
I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to. Was it bruised? And then when she explained it to me, it just seemed so beautiful. No, all of a sudden I was just filled with this feeling that I needed to reach out to you, or that I needed to be thinking of you, or that, you were just very much on my mind. And who doesn't like to hear that?
Yeah.
I was thinking of you. So it might be that, and that's where these devices are awesome, because it takes 2 seconds to write a text to somebody and say, hey, you're on my mind. Not sure why. And they might know why.
Right.
And they might be like, oh my gosh, I so needed to hear from you. Thank you so much. And I can't tell you how many times in the last 9 months that has happened. Like, this timing was perfect, fantastic. So sometimes the doing is just to sit a while longer, take 2 more minutes. All right, I will do that, because when you don't serve yourself, you can serve no one. So it might be for that stay-at-home
Sure.
parent that they need to take a breath, that they might need to actually ask for help and accept it.
Yeah.
So it may be that they didn't have to ask, someone was offering, and they finally just said, okay, that thing, I'll take you up on it. I really need a moment today. So that might be your doing. Your doing might be less doing. My kids are pretty independent. And so some mornings, if I hear a bunch of flurry going on, I know someone woke up late. And so it's a matter of dash to the kitchen and see what we can rescue for lunches, see what we can rescue about the morning. And so those are just some simple doings. They're not huge, Ken. Like, they're not,
Right.
I'm not going out to save the whales single-handedly. And that's service. And my hat's off to those people who do, but that's not it. That's not what we're talking about. So the going, where would you have me go? I'm entrepreneurial. And so a lot of times I work from home, and a lot of times I work from home too much.
Sure.
So where would you have me go? And the word out
Yeah.
comes to mind, like, get out.
That's not Mr. Ford saying that. It's,
Right. Sometimes it is. And I love him for it. Like, honey, you really need to get out of the house today. You're twitching. You got this funny little woo. You're talking to the dogs a lot. Going to a coffee shop, and that there might be somebody there. It might be like where you're supposed to go. And all right, this coffee shop or that coffee shop, sit, listen.
Yeah.
Where do I need to go? Outside. And whether it is frozen tundra or, like sort of damp grass and a little bit chilly, get your feet on the ground. Breathe some real air, not just through a car window, but breathe some real air and make it happen. I see. Never. My husband popped in. Yeah.
And Phil Nasarino, who's out there too, he'll tell you that. Go ground yourself. Go.
Oh yeah.
Get barefoot. Go.
Absolutely, Phil. Yeah.
Dig your toes into the earth and reground yourself.
I mean, you can do snow angels, you can do grass angels if there's no, and it's exhilarating to just kind of lay there, watch a cloud, and take a breath and get back to where we came from,
So, and as you're saying that, what that tells me too is, because you're doing that for yourself, that's how you're serving other people.
Absolutely.
Because now you're not wound so tight.
Right.
Now you're not bouncing off the walls, going crazy, or whatever.
Absolutely.
Which will allow you to be more clear.
Present. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. More present with the people and really be able to dig in and
That's
serve.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. And the going might also be go out of your comfort zone and step a little bit further out. So it might not be that physical place, but where do you need me to go today? Yeah, you got to go there, sister. So that uncomfortable thing, do that. You're going to have to do some of those uncomfortable tasks and make that happen. So the saying part, what would you have me say and to whom? The to whom might be a little bit easier than the what would you have me say, but sometimes, as we said, we'll get the person first and not know why, and that's okay. Now, I have a challenge. One of the comfort zones I have is that whole self-promotion thing. I'm not a fan of it. And so it's hard to do. And I lump a lot of things in there, with even telling people what I do sometimes. And let's face it, as parents, then a lot of us are out here listening, as parents, there's no manual. They don't hand you that.
No.
And as you hit a new stage, there isn't a manual. But there are support folks like myself who can help make that job easier. And, by my not saying something out loud about what I do, that, I help teens and parents connect. Someone might be like, I don't know where to go for help for that. And I'm holding out on them by not saying. So I can serve by telling a few more people what I do and how I can help. Because I tell you what, I have my support people and I have needed them. Definitely needed them on a daily basis sometimes to say, hey, let's talk about this. This is tough stuff. And it's so important. We're raising a whole next generation. It's important stuff. So, what if I'm the amazing thing they've been waiting for? And I have to say that to myself. Like, I have run into so many amazing supports and services out there who have helped me. What if I'm their amazing thing? So who am I to hold that back? So that's one of the things that, what would you have me say has come up. Now, writing this show, there was a morning where I'm like, what would you have me say? And that was, you need to contact Kent and tell him about your new talk. So I did. And then Kent wanted to meet with me, and then we ended up talking about the show, and that's why I'm here.
There it is.
So ta-da, so the Who came to me. And then you introduced me to Pete, and so that's how this whole thing came about. And it's just like, hey, would this fit on one of your shows? And you're like, no, it would fit on yours. So, ta-da, here we are. Then you just have to listen. You just have to sit and wait for a little bit of that guidance to come, and trust your heart. Let your head get out of the way. And then move.
And then move.
And then move. So I know I put out there that I'm going to help people make their mornings a little bit better. So some of you might be saying, all right, what else you got? I got this one down. What are your more tools? Let's move. So as an entrepreneur, I set my own schedule. And I know many of our listeners are entrepreneurial, and more upcoming are entrepreneurial. And a lot of these kids too, they've got entrepreneurial hearts. But navigating the privilege of your own schedule can be debilitating in a sea of choice. Like, I don't have to do the thing. I could do the other things. And so you have all these choices, and sometimes it becomes really difficult. So starting the day right is imperative. Starting the day with some intention and direction, and everything goes a whole lot better. Now, I know my husband's listening here. He brings me a cup of coffee every morning. And that is one of his ways to serve. And he probably doesn't even know this, but it took a while for me to accept that.
Alice, if you're listening out there, I am always up way before her. I should be bringing her coffee.
There you go.
One of the listeners, Terry Riley, says self-care is important in life with a stable balance, so we can encourage others. I've reconnected to a lost art called listening. In my quiet time with God, I get my encouragement and prayer assignments for others.
Absolutely. Terry, thanks for sharing that. That silence and listening is so imperative. And, for the kids too, they have so very little of the silence and stillness, and encouraging them to take that. I know I've been completely guilty of the let's do, let's go. What else are you doing? And silence and stillness is doing.
Yeah.
And it's imperative doing. So take a breath, lay on the floor, stare at the ceiling fan, and breathe. And there's my cup of coffee.
There it is.
Boom.
Well, and that's take that time. Don't just jump out of bed. Don't just start rolling. Take the time to listen.
Right.
Deep breath and
listen.
And you're asking those questions, but you're wanting us to ask those questions to hear the answer.
Yes.
Right? Not just go, all right, check off. I did that.
Exactly. Right? And I love you say that, because I've been like, all right, great. Where'd you have me go? Where'd you have me do? I'm like, well, that didn't serve
Yeah.
anyone, most especially me. So, oh, now we have bacon and eggs. I love it. Oh, he's serving. I tell you
Never
what.
go wrong with
But
bacon, Mr. Ford. I'll tell you that.
It did take me a long time to accept. I'm like, no, but I can get that. Of course I
Mhm.
can. Of course we can do a lot of the things that others choose to do to serve for us and serve us with. So,
Mhm.
one thing that might be on your to-do is to receive gratefully. And this again is going to be another habit that we talk about in a future, but we set that tone. Rico sets the tone with his kindness in the morning, with his cup of coffee, and helping the kids with whatever they might need, making sure that they're up. And a lot of times the way I serve is something that, believe it or not, my mom taught me. And I realized that she was the one that taught me this just recently. But if I'm in sloth mode and it's hard to get out of bed, I just own it.
Mhm.
And if I slept funny and everything hurts, I can turn it around with my mom wine. And this is the wine with an H. So I channel my inner 5-year-old who's grumpy and crabby. I get the crabby face out. I get the voice and go to town with this fit and throw it. So I shuffle out into the kitchen and just seriously get the the wine all
Yeah.
about it. The kids start to laugh and I throw my head up in the air and, Daddy, I can't do it today. I just can't do it. It's not working. And the kids laugh and I don't like it. My eyes are broken. And you just whine about all the things. And believe it or not, that comical admission of this is hard turns some stuff around, and it is obnoxious,
Mhm.
but it works. So whatever works, you got to throw in the fun. Having a gratitude journal in order to look at how did those things work? So this is the end of the day part of it. How can I serve? So you go back, and I have a client that he'll lay there in bed for 5 to 10 minutes, and then he'll write down a few things. And then at the end of the day, he'll write out how it went. Like, what was the result of my starting my day that way? And that bookending has changed his life tremendously. I know a lot of people run and they have inspirational music when they do that, and it pumps them up and it gets them to think and knock all the cobwebs out. That's great. And especially if you can do that on a chilly morning, more power to you. But I tell you what, I could do that at one point, not doing that right now. Playing music. We have started the day when we know it's going to be rough for everybody, especially if we have to get up really early. We started the day playing music. My aunt started this with me, and it just soft guitar music. And then she would amp it up a little bit and get our dance moving. So those are some great things. Now, I do want to end our show with my 3 things: the ponder, practice, and play with. So are we ready?
Yeah.
All right. So, when I think about what I want you to ponder, Khalil Gibran comes to mind, and it's, I slept and I dreamt that life is all joy. I woke and I saw that life is all service. I served and I found that service is joy. So that's to ponder. To practice, I want you to lay in bed 2 extra minutes. And I want you to do, what would you have me do? Where would you have me go? And what would you have me say and to whom? And to play with, I want you to I want you to invite your own resistance in and play with that. Your resistance to take a look at that. Your resistance to sitting silently. Your resistance to giving yourself those 2 extra minutes. And if you feel you have nothing to give, go back to last episode and just start dishing out smiles. Start dishing out those smiles.
It's a great way to serve, though, too.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Just-
Share a joke. You hear something, share it. It's an easy, move it on.
That's it.
Absolutely.
And I think, too, is to understand that how can I serve doesn't mean that I'm pulling a plow.
Right.
Right. And understand that.
You bet. You bet. So
cool. If you want to wrap it up, hey.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Well, let's go. I am Julie Ford with Jewels of Life, And you can find me at Jewels of Life on Facebook and Instagram. And if you'd like to hear more about enjoying every stage, I've started a group midweek, midday to keep you uplifted with you and your spouse or just by yourself in raising the next generation. If you want to hear more about that and see if it's a fit, give me a call. I'm at 262-374-3744, and I would love to hear from you. Leave me an old-fashioned message if I don't pick up the phone. Imagine a message. And until next time, I want you to enjoy all of it.